Justice and Reconciliation. It's my duty this morning to welcome everyone to the dialogue on race and global citizenship, exploring Nelson Mandela's legacy, hosted by Stellenbosch University's Studies in Historical Trauma and Transformation, the Nelson Mandela Foundation, and the Institute for Justice and Reconciliation. So obviously, as we know, this is Mandela Week. Yesterday we celebrated as a nation, and I think the world, his centenary of when he was born. And we're reflecting on his contribution to South Africa's fight for freedom from apartheid and our fight towards democracy. So this provides a useful space and an inflection point from which to explore the vision of citizenship of a man and his legacy, who has become not just a national and continental icon, but a global icon and touchstone. To do so at this point provides a space, a place, and a time to focus attention on new transitional insights introduced into literature in the aftermath of mass trauma and violence. And to do so in a way that goes a little deeper and goes beyond superficial understandings and obviously superficial popular understandings of the man and his legacy, to a richer study of his commitment to a world in which the other matters, while South Africans and the rest of us, the rest of the world, fosters the deepest sense of our identity as members of the human community. And especially to do this in a context where we were former adversaries, and in some ways, in mind, are still adversarial in nature. The colloquium today is especially interested in research trends that grew to prominence in global scholarly debates based on the TRC, specifically the core concepts of justice, truth, memory, and reconciliation, and what that purpose was to get a recorded reckoning of apartheid crimes out in the open and to hold to account perpetrators and oppressors, with some hope that this legal model and even somewhat spiritual process would mark a different kind of Rubicon for South Africa to cross. But as the TRC itself recedes into the past and narratives become debated and negotiated, as historical narratives normally do when norms and ebbs flow, a question growing ever more bolder in the Reconciliation Project is about Mandela's legacy itself. And one of the questions about today's colloquium is, what might the future look like for the next generation if the response to Mandela's legacy in the pursuit of is not just about reconciliation, but also about social justice more prominently. More pointedly, beyond and without dismissing academic exploration of the TRC and transitional justice, which is of course valid and entirely necessary, what is Mandela's particular role in that? How do we, academics, human rights workers, communities, and citizens, global citizens as well as non-South African citizens, given the trend of xenophobia, how do we manage the widening gap between reality and the rainbow dream, between food needed for the hungry bellies and the reconciliation with the oppressor, between generational wealth of black people being largely meaningless or invisible, and inherited privilege of the white minority, between 64% of black and 41% of colored people living in poverty, and on the other hand, 1% of white people. This state of social justice or injustice is also familiar in South Africa. And valid questions are asked by the hungry, the poor, the jobless, the raped, the abused, the ostracized. What reconciliation? What justice? Indeed, increasingly young people, the next generation we're so focused on and whose future we all have a stake in, or if we don't, we should, begin to ask what Mandela actually achieved, as hard as that may be to some of us to stomach. On behalf of Stellenbosch University's Historical Trauma and Transformation Studies and the Nelson Mandela Foundation, I welcome everyone to explore together these complex and interwoven strands of legacy and how it informs our narrative and continued fight for deep equality. In this context today, we will spend our time exploring and digging into questions of citizenship, more particularly responsible citizenship, the ongoing struggle for racial equality, and the intricacies of building deep solidarity, where solidarity goes so far that it doesn't disappear when someone's comfort is inconvenienced. And we have some talented minds with us today to help us grapple with and find our way through some of the finer details and perhaps tease out new insights. Welcome once more and thank you. And I now hand over to Prof. Kobodo Madikizela. Thank you.
Judy, you look going to flank the eyebrows. Thank you very much for this wonderful introduction. I want to add just a little bit of welcome to acknowledge specific individuals, mainly from the Nelson Mandela Foundation and from the Catering Catering Foundation in Dayton, Ohio. So Dr. Vern Harris is here, and accompanying him is Obinawa Amponsa. They're both from the Nelson Mandela Foundation in Johannesburg. We are delighted to have them here with us and welcome today. Ruby Davis is from the Catering Foundation in Dayton, Ohio. You'll hear from her this afternoon as well as this evening across the road at the Holocaust Foundation. There's a discussion at 6 p.m. tonight. Without much further ado, I'm going to introduce our speakers this morning. I am really delighted to have the opportunity to be sitting next to them all, whom I know in different capacities. First, at the end of our sitting here is Naledi Morijele. Naledi, I've known her as a young feminist who studied at Free State when I was there. She is now the director of the Human Rights, South African Human Rights Commission, as its director of the Human Rights Office of the South African Human Rights Commission, based in Free State. She is a gender and transformation scholar and practitioner, has dedicated her professional life to exploring new knowledge and praxis for the advancement of social justice and equality. She holds a BA degree from Wheaton College in Massachusetts in Women's Studies and International Economics, and a master's from the University of Free State African Studies Department. She is pursuing her PhD currently in higher education studies, and her research is on gender equality, transformation, democracy, and decolonization in higher education. She's most known among us from those of us who know her for her first book, which was based on her MA thesis doing research in Rwanda and in South Africa, titled Women Political Leaders in Rwanda and South Africa, Narratives of Triumph and Loss. And I am very privileged to also add that she works under my supervision, so I have to add that. So Jody here was at Stellenbosch University in the height of student activism in Stellenbosch, and I came to know Jody through those activist processes and conversations, heated conversations at Stellenbosch University. It was a privilege again to connect with that aspect of her life. So Jody Williams is a political science graduate from Stellenbosch. Her postgraduate research zoomed in on the relationship between political participation, social movements, gender and race in post-apartheid South Africa. As a feminist writer, you are in good company, Dr. Mpele. Her approach to her work is confidently intersectional. During her time at Stellenbosch University, she was involved in student activism and in a number of movements aimed at addressing issues of systemic inequality and institutionalized oppression within higher education. She describes herself as a decolonial thinker and an advocate of social justice. and she works here at the IJR in the communications and advocacy team. Some of us would have heard or read Jodi's writings in some of the media, and are familiar with her views, so we look forward to both of your contributions. And finally, it is my utmost pleasure to introduce Dr. Rampele. Again, my privilege of knowing Dr. Rampele. As I've said, every public event where I have had the opportunity of introducing her, I like to speak about a very special memory for me when I was a PhD student at UCT, when I almost left UCT. I mean, I can't believe that the issues that we're dealing with at UCT in 1991 are the same issues. Why are our children dealing with the same issues? And I almost abandoned my PhD were it not for Dr. Rampele and the many walks that she invited me to convince me about the importance of completing my PhD despite all the stuff that was going on. So it's a wonderful memory for me. I think of those times with such fondness, and her role in my life as a scholar with deep fondness. In fact, it so happens that when I left UCT to the US to start doing research on perpetrators at the Widener Library at Harvard University, she was also spending a year there. So can you imagine that continuity, how fortunate I was for my grounding, as a young scholar at the time. So really thank you. It's an opportunity for me to acknowledge you for that. She has had a celebrated career as an activist, medical doctor, academic, businesswoman, and political thinker. In 1968, she enrolled for a medical degree at the University of Natal, where she became